Is anybody else hopping on the Hammerhead?
100.
All right, guys, they're closing the event.
They're what?
They're closing the event.
Unfortunate.
Okay.
Bummer.
News plus GrieferNET. I would say the only two issues really, like we had good security, but the main issue was half our security was on another Discord.
Yeah, well, because
Big
we were
issue.
expecting Spec to be able to make calls about who primary targets.
Yeah, and like we did talk about that initially, right? So I know it was weird for him to do that.
Yeah,
But,
I was going to talk to you after Vex. I had some comments, but
Damn,
I'll talk to
something
you
blew up.
all right. But yeah, I can hop into Plan B after this. But yeah, the event is over.
No rush.
Thank you guys so much for helping out. I mean, we did the best we could, right, with what we had. And yeah, it's when it comes to security, it's always the little things like that. Like when one org decides we're going to go in another Discord, or it could be like a server error issue, or another thing too was we party launched on a very low pop server, so there was room for them to get on in numbers, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it's always
and,
those
when,
little things that screw us over every time.
well, and then we had things like when Spec didn't bring his crew over here. I was trying to coordinate, but I had no idea really what we were going for. So after everything went down at Miner's Lament, then it was like, okay, so are we sending more people to Miner's Lament? Are we not?
Yeah,
Well,
and
I had no idea if we had another.
Nobody was calling anything, and that's why I said, don't just start trickling in here because we're just going to feed.
Yeah.
That was. I don't ever mind losing a fight if you have a decent fight.
If you-
whatever goes down, if it's a server issue, I don't really like things going south because of things that are preventable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
And, I mean, obviously, like I'm not mad, right? But it's like it's just
No.
a little like, damn it, man, it could have been better. So.
Well, and I think the other thing too is, like, I had no idea. Like, I didn't. After everything went down with Miner's Lament, it was like, okay, scramble to Miner's Lament, and then it was like, okay, stop going to Miner's Lament. We're gonna hold it grim. And then after that, it was like, well, there's no combat here. I don't know where the racers are. I don't know if there's combat over where the racers are or not. So I don't know if we should be jumping back to Miner's Lament, if we should continue to hold Grim. And then when you guys got back, I was like, I don't know if you guys are going back to Miner's Lament. So it was just a little bit of a...
Yeah, and like...
Not knowing where the, objective is kind of sucked a little bit. Like, it'd be nice to know,
it would have
racers
been better,
are over at this location.
I do apologize because I decided to join the racing team because I needed more racers, but next time I'll just be on the security team.
I think that would, like, knowing where they were would have helped, but I think that, like the other thing, like I said, was simply after everything went down at Miner's Lament the first time, I was thinking that they were going to be coming to Grimhex next, or that we'd all be forming up at Grimhex and then moving out in force. And so as far as I was aware, we were just sort of holding at Grimhex in a holding pattern. And then suddenly Vex, I saw your message to pop over to where you were because you were very close to them. So then the server died as everyone starts quantuming over.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw first Squadron showed up there, but then the server error happened.
And I think, I'm not positive, but I think they were between us and you, because I got interdicted, got pulled out right into them, and had a total of about 4 frames in the time it took me to die. So it just kind of was a
dropped
clusterfuck.
and instantly died.
Yeah, I tried to stay out 50 kilometers, but then they pinged me, so they saw me on radar. And they were able to sort of zero in on my location. So by the time you guys were jumping in, they were already there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to, like, a big group like this, there needs to be like good leadership in charge of a big group like this, and that's kind of why I entrusted SpecSniper to do this. But like, for fuck's sake, he wasn't even in the Discord. I sent him 2 invites, and I was like, come on, bring you guys in. Like, I'll stop the race just to assign everybody roles in the ANZIA Discord. Like, but...
Well, I think the other thing, too, is, like that, not really expecting suddenly be like, okay, well, we're on our own. And so I kept waiting, at least we kept waiting for messages from Spec in the party chat, or at least in the DMs, because I was assuming he was still trying to run point in some respect. But yeah, I think, and like, I'm more than happy and open to comments from Potato. I know I'm sort of rambling on here, and you've done this. Like,
no, that's okay. I haven't done a lot of this in Star Citizen, but I've certainly done a lot of this in other games in different situations, and we probably should have set up. And again, I'm not pointing fingers, laying blame, throwing mud. None of that. We needed to have some leadership redundancies in place. We probably should have just pumped the brakes when our quote unquote leadership group was not present with us. Mm-hmm. That effectively made us an incapable fighting force, is what it did. Yeah. We had no direction, no comms. That's why, like, I wasn't trying to step on. Like, I'm a new kid on the block. I got a small group, but that's why I said, hey, we need to form up. We can't just trickle in. We're just going to feed these idiots, and that's pretty much what happened. So that's disappointing. Well, I don't know SpecSniper. I'm not throwing shade at him, but this definitely could have been better. And that's just my observations. I don't think it's a secret to point those things out.
Well, and I think I'm with you. I was under the assumption that you had done this more often, so I was, the hammerhead's going to get stored.
Well, I knew what to do. I didn't feel like I was in the position to be making those calls.
Yeah, no, that's fair, right? Like, I was trying to call shots and organize my crew, and it's not your crew, so I get that. But I think I was trying not to, like, order you guys around, because I wasn't sure where exactly you guys stood. And on top of that, I think the biggest thing as well was, we had the person who was supposed to be leading us wasn't in the VC, so we were kind of just flying blind. And I think the second thing with that is because we had the Miner's Lament issue where we had a bunch of people trickle in, get killed, and die. We then had a bunch of people trying to coordinate getting back and where we were going, while we also had people trying to coordinate fights. So it was hard because, like, at the end there, I know somebody was like, "There's no call-outs happening," but meanwhile, the rest of the conversation's like, "Okay, so are we outside of Grim? Are we going to where are we staging? What ships are we getting in? Is the event going?" So it's like there's 3 conversations going on that all need to happen. So it's hard to know what to prioritize, because it's like, well, you've got people that need reinforcements that need to communicate, but then the reinforcements to communicate to be able to reinforce. And we all have no idea where we're going, who we're targeting, who priority target is, because the person who's supposed to tell us the priority target wasn't in the chat.
Well, and I think that's where we need to go with a leadership pecking order that's established prior to the op, so that when things like this happen, you have redundancies in place. And Might is right in these things. You've got the big crew, your people, you got the biggest number, take it and go. We didn't establish that prior. Like, don't worry about stepping on my toes. I want to win, right? We need redundancies. People need to know their jobs. Those kind of things need to be established. And we say, okay, we're going to, form up. We're going to wheels up outside of Grim. Then we're going to go here. If you see targets, you call, and then we're going to send this group in, or whatever. We were just kind of all essentially standing around with our dick in our hands. I mean, I'm sorry, our e-peens in our hands.
Yeah. And I apologize. I just went in fucking throwing fingers right away.
I am not
because I'm almost a case of beer in. So like,
dude.
Yeah,
well,
but
I
the
think,
point,
to be frank, we were all expecting this to be more casual. And then
I mean, it was casual, but until the GrieferNET showed up, right?
No, this
Yeah.
is exactly what I expected and wanted to happen. It just didn't go the way I wanted it to go.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
what we were
This is
hoping for.
exactly what I wanted.
Yeah,
This
just
is
to be
what I
clear, this was a casual event, and the organizers really didn't care what happened. And the whole point of inviting you guys was to give you all an opportunity to like get some credentials under your belt, get you guys some experience, and also I like to keep track of orgs that are interested in doing security ops. So this was a good chance for me to sort of get a feel for how you guys are. And you guys with Plan B, this was like an opportunity for you guys to make a name for yourselves in the security business.
Absolutely. I guess my concern there is that this was not a showing worthy of mentioning, like, to anyone ever. Like this.
Yeah.
I will say,
But-
it's tough
not what I
when
would like my
GrieferNET
name
shows
tied
up to have moments like that.
Also
Um,
true, yeah.
Yeah.
because they fight dirty, and so once they show up, it's usually a lot of loss. The win
Yeah, it's
is
usually the same thing.
Yeah, the win is when you notice them ahead of time and you're able to. The biggest fight against GrieferNET is not necessarily security. It's actually just quick action of, okay, we're leaving the server, party launch, let's go. Not
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Make their
of
night
setup.
boring.
You know, right? You get out. The quicker you can set up, the better you are to fight them. So, like Echo Bit and I have talked before, and the typical response for when we know GrieferNET is showing up is that we start the event over. But it's hard to do when, because usually ANZIA, when ANZIA is running it, this is another thing where it was another org hosting it and all that sort of stuff. They're 15 minutes tops, parties formation, and we're launching. Like it goes really, really quick. So to say, GrieferNET's here, let's go to a different spot. There's no. They're like, oh, okay, that's going to add another 15 minutes. Like, that's no big deal. But when we're already 40 minutes in, it's tough.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was kind of
good night's rest.
I was kind of thinking the same thing of like I would have been happy to pop out, but by the time we were actually launching, it was like, okay, we're already 1 hour past when we were supposed to start.
Yep.
Right.
Which again, I'm not gonna act like I've been like, oh yeah, Nightingale, we always start our events on time.
Yeah. I've been there.
Ragtag is in
I'm
the
not
same
worried
boat.
about that.
But I
take
will give
offense.
Same.
My arena
Yeah.
commander events always start on time.
right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Some next steps, some growth steps for some of y'all. Do you guys have, probably not Gilded, but like TeamSpeak or anything like that, an extra communication that
we
exists
do.
outside of?
Nightingale does have a mumble.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
we're working on getting a TeamSpeak set up, but we're still in the process of that.
Right. It's really nice to have one of those set up for events like this because you guys were talking about information sharing. What you'd usually do, what's really great to do, is you have just one representative who's a comms officer type person, not necessarily central towards all the call-outs, all that sort of stuff, but they exist in the host's voice channel, just sitting there muted, and they just listen. And all they do is they speak to you through that extra thing saying, all right, they're starting the race. Okay, they're at Miner's Lament. Okay, they're doing this. They're doing this. They just started the stream. They just ran into this issue. Can you guys... And all of a sudden you have a steady communication line between two people, and that the receiver of all that info could be the person that's in charge. That's how we usually do it. Or it could be just another person that informs the person in charge to tell them what's going on. So that's a great way to kind of bridge that gap for information and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. No, I definitely think that would help. I also think, frankly, I know we've said it before, but I think if we'd had all the security in one VC, that would have helped majorly, because there was also a bunch of like, okay, we have no idea if this person's part of security or if this person's supposed to be one of the racers. We have no idea. So you're looking at a whole bunch of names around an area, and you're going, I don't know if that's part of the security detail or if that's part of just the racers, and we're actually quite undergunned over there.
Right. Another way to get past that, I'm not refuting what you're saying, but sometimes when you get a lot of security into the same voice channel, it does just get cumbersome. So two things there. You can have that extra voice channel where everyone sits in this Discord call muted from your group, but they're still able to hear. But then you're in that mumble call or that TeamSpeak call talking to each other. That's what AVS would do. But another thing you could do is one of the things I've liked to do is we at ANZIA, we always have a participants list and a security list of everybody that's participating in on security, and you can get a hold of that list pretty easily once the event starts, and we designate one person to be the control 5 or the command F person. And they're the ones that, okay, name this. What's the first 2 letters? Okay, it's DRY, dry heat for you, 4 as in the letter. They type that in, and they're like, oh, yep, they're on the pass, they're green.
Okay.
And then if they're not on the list, they're red, and we take them out immediately, type of thing.
And
so you don't have to worry too much about that.
So you can have you can have command channels. That way, if everybody's not in the same Discord, you can at least have a command channel to pass back and forth things. Or mumble.
Yeah, it just requires there needs to be someone with 2 screens that's able to see those. At least 2 screens. That's the big problem that I've had with other big time orgs is that their lead is the guy that only has 1 screen, and so I'm trying to communicate with him, and he's in the game. You know what I'm saying? And he plays with
1 screen. It was 2024. God.
I got 3 screens on 4 tablets. Is that enough?
Jesus.
I also
your phone.
I also think what would have helped. I think having an officer or comms officer like that, somebody who is not in the game, or if they are in the game, they're not in a ship that's like, oh, well, I'm piloting, so if I'm not moving, then I've got 3 other people sitting here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think having a comms officer who isn't also trying to engage, their sole responsibility is just coordination and communication, would have changed the event a lot as well.
Yeah, back when we were doing ops with like 10, 11 people, kind of, I don't know, probably like a year ago now, we just had that person designated, right? So like, it wasn't necessarily having them, play a role outside of, the game or whatever, but like, if that person was speaking, comms go silent, like immediately, and then we had a rollover of people and all that shit stopped. But like, it just having that person designated up front, even if you have a full Discord, like, fucking 30 people, however many people we got on this call, like, just knowing that there are like 2 or 3 people that should be talking and no one else should be, like, constantly. That helps a lot, just knowing ahead of time. And then, if your designated person speaks, okay, that's your order, right? So
battle comms, and that's one of the most important things. And the way I see it, it's the number one reason why we weren't able to beat GrieferNET today. We had the numbers, we had the firepower, we had the skill to do it, but we didn't have the communication. Communication is the most important thing, especially when it comes from the leadership side, right? So that's kind of why I feel bad that I wasn't here. I was on the racing team. Like, I could have helped a lot with the whole leadership side and